Well, good afternoon, sir. How are you?
I'm good. Good.
Awesome. These storms have been crazy around here, haven't they?
Yeah, it seems like just rain though today. I mean, there's been a little bit of wind, but it's not anything like it was last week.
Yeah. For those of y'all that don't know, we're in Nashville, Tennessee, and so there were so many tornadoes in the area last week. And man, my heart goes out to anybody that was affected. Carter and I actually in was 1997 lived in a house. We shared a house with four or five other people, and way back in the day when we were doing songwriting stuff, and got hit by the tornado of 1997.
You were home when it
I was
happened.
home. Yeah, I was home, but man, it wasn't the destruction like we're seeing in up the road in Kentucky and some of these other
No, it's
places.
awful.
Really, really bad. So if anybody's listening and you guys were affected, we really do feel for you. And if there's anything we can do for you, please reach out to us. We'd love to help. Anyway, we've got some people coming on today. Hopefully, this will going to be really informative. But again, before we get started, I'm just going to let people come in. If you guys can give us likes and hearts, that'd be awesome. We'll be right back and get going.
I'm glad I wasn't picking my nose or anything.
Oh, I know. Isn't that great? I tell you, this. I was telling Carter this last iOS update has messed me up so much. It like reverted one of my notes in my phone back. My mom passed away 6 years ago, and now I've got all her passwords in it, and the ones that I have that are current, they're not anywhere. So at some point, I get to have the pleasure of getting on with Apple and go, "What'd you do with my stuff? Can I have it back, please?"
Gosh, wow.
So it's kind of crazy. It is kind of crazy. But hey, that's a third world problem, right? Or first world problem, or whatever it is. I get that backward. My just dyslexia shows up in those sayings. But we're going to talk about what conversational marketing is and how you can utilize it. To me, conversational marketing is really um, when I read all the definitions and it's to me, it's just good old fashioned relationships,
Yeah, it's
building relationships.
it's building relationships instead of selling. It's being
Yeah,
an expert instead of just hawking stuff. It's being useful to people even if they're not your customer yet, so that they want to do business with you because they trust you because you helped them when you didn't even stand to gain anything from it. At that moment, you weren't
right.
charging for your expertise. You were just being helpful. That's relationship or conversational marketing.
Yeah, I think it's really interesting. I see a lot of, especially chimney sweeps that have been in business for, gosh, 25, 30 years. And they tell me that they've got people that come back year in and year out, just all the time. And it really is. It's why. Why are they coming back? Well, you have a relationship with it. You've had those conversations. You've built up that trust over the years, and that really is what we're talking about is trust building through conversation and action. So I think that's a great deal. Now there is some things today that we certainly are challenged with conversational marketing, mainly because there's so many channels that can come at you all at once. And so, that's kind of a difficult thing sometimes to navigate. um, so, having those conversations across multiple channels, multiple devices, sometimes you're on desktop, sometimes you have people that are on their cell phones or doing text on their cell phones, and they've got a desktop and maybe another computer. I mean, I've heard people have three or four different things set up right there for them to be able to jump on and have the conversations and build those relationships in these multiple ways. And so the reason that that's so important is because there are people in the world that literally get on Facebook in the morning and they don't go anywhere else. They're just on Facebook. There are people that stay on Twitter all day. There are people that stay in Google all day. I mean, everybody kind of has a mode, if they will, of what their favorite platform is and where they get their information. And, if it's TikTok, if it's Twitter, if it's Instagram, I mean, these are all places that people may be looking for what you do. Uh, and that's really the challenge, don't you think, Carter?
Yeah, monitoring all of it, that's where the challenge is. I think, there are some things that can be done just in terms of consolidating all of that, bringing it all into one view where, regardless of where the conversation starts, your reply back to them is going to happen always in the same place, from the same view, from the same screen. And, we're bringing some things around this year or next year that are going to really be able to help with that. And looking forward to talking about that. That you can be in many places all at once without having to be in many places,
Right.
So it's really cool. Yeah. But back to, the idea of conversational marketing, the answering questions, anticipating what people are going to be asking based on what previous customers have asked, getting out there with that information, having a conversation, starting the conversation, not with, hey, special offer, buy now, get one free, or, buy now and get 20% off, or that kind of stuff. But having more of a conversation. Have you ever thought about the inside of your chimney and what's that black stuff, or what's the sound, the birds that are in my chimney this year? Just you're answering questions. You're having a conversation. You're anticipating what they're going to ask even before they've asked it, in order to win the right to get permission to talk to them about your services. So it's just much more effective, I think, than going out door knocking. I mean, personally, I wish that that Latter-day Saints and Jehovah's Witnesses would stop knocking on my door and would just, ask questions from a safer distance. And, I mean, like, quit selling and just, have a conversation
Sure.
about, things that matter to me, and not necessarily pushing your agenda.
It's interesting. Just live in the country. Nobody comes out here. They don't bother out here. They're like, you people don't need any of what we got. So yeah, it's kind of interesting. Anyway, that's another subject. And this brings me to something else I think is really important to understand, that if you know and if you can anticipate those questions, and most of us can, most of us, if we've been in business long enough, we pretty much know what the questions the majority of our potential clients are going to ask. We can actually set up some things and some mechanisms, if you will, to be able to um, create a pathway that maybe we don't have to be on top of all the time, so that people can already get some of the things that they need answers to those questions. So, and that brings me to a couple of things. Chatbot is, and I said a chatbot, bot. Um, Everybody thinks that I'm kind of sometimes saying chat box for whatever, probably because that's what it sounds like, because I'm from the South. But it is a chat bot, and this is a automation that can be set up to answer people's questions, and they can get answers to their questions. And actually, at the end of the bot conversation, can dig more and either go to a scheduling form. You can send them a phone number. You can send them to a number that can, take text, all these different things you can do with a chatbot. So that's one way that you can do that. I will tell you, we're going to do something coming up on chatbots next week. We're going to talk a little bit more about them, of setting them up and where to find them and some of those kind of things, because we've had people ask us that. So we're going to go into that next week a little bit more. But that's one thing that really can help and save you time, save you money and energy. If you can get that set up to where it's working for you, that's a great way to do that. You can use personalized videos. A lot of times, personalized videos is just being able to very quickly get on a video, answer a question, and you can send it in an email. If you've got a personalized video of some kind, and I'm not saying that, personalized is like if I say, "Hey Carter, this is Taylor," but there are other ways that you can personalize. Say, "Hey, here you have this question about da da da. Let me tell you about it." And so you can actually answer the question via video, and it just makes it sound more personable, as if it's personalized. You can do the same thing with email. You can one of the things I love about email these days is you can segment emails based on interest. It's probably something down the road we'll talk about and get a little bit more into, but it helps push the conversation down the road, if you will. So that's something you can do. There are some virtual selling assistants that you can get into, and then there's just different automations that you can set up that can really kind of help you with those conversations, if that makes sense.
So let's talk about like, if we're having all these conversations online and all the different places. Like, I counted up the other day the number of apps on my phone that are for communication where I actively on a regular basis receive communication from people that requires response. It was like 17 apps that beep at me all day long with, different people chatting with me in different ways. And, it can be a little bit of a challenge. Having it all on one device though is helpful, because then the same device beeps at me and I can jump into wherever I need to be. So that's been a relief. I don't have to carry around 17 cell phones. But 17 apps is still a lot. I think there's some ways that we can consolidate that. But the real question I'm thinking is like, um, what are the platforms that you need to really be on? And what do you need to monitor in order, to really be conversational in the places you need to be. Email. I mean, I'm still amazed sometimes at how many businesses have a way on their website to receive communication, like a contact us form, and then that contact us form gets emailed to someone in the business. And how many people never respond to those? It just like goes into a black hole. Nobody ever, reads them, I guess. I don't know. But if you're going to have that on your website, then you got to have somebody who's monitoring that, who's reading those emails and is responding, And I know that a ton of junk comes through the forms on your website, spam all day long. It's real easy to just start thinking that there's nothing good that ever comes from these. Delete, 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 delete. And you're going to miss the one that was legit. And that one job could have been worth 20 grand, So it's important to, spend the time looking through to make sure that you catch the legitimate ones. Phone calls, of course. I mean, everybody has a phone number and you've got to monitor that. And most businesses are, at least proficient at doing that part. But if you have a chat widget on your website to where people can chat with you directly, that's a great thing for someone in the office to be able to monitor while they're doing other things and answering phones. Texting is becoming a really big deal as far as consumers' expectations of home service businesses. So texting is something that I would put at the top of the list. And then maybe toward the end of the list, Facebook Messenger is becoming more and more important too. And there's some other places too. There's always new things that are coming out, but those would be the ones like I would prioritize and really spend time trying to figure out good systems around those. And the cool thing is that all of those that I've just mentioned are very easy to pull into one dashboard through some of the automation tools that we're going to be talking about here, pretty shortly in the next few weeks, the beginning of the year.
I think the other thing I want to bring up is, having the tools and having even in the one dashboard and all that kind of thing is great. I mean, all that sounds great and it's wonderful. But if you don't hire the right people to be able to do this type of communication, all the tools that you get just kind of go out the window. We periodically listen to phone calls, and some of the phone calls that we hear, whether it's due to burnout or just not knowing enough about the business, or just not the right person, whatever that reason is, some of the calls really, you can tell that there is some frustration, maybe some angst on the CSR that's answering the phone. Um, and so you got to really pay attention to that the people in your office and the people answering your phones actually have what they need to be able to do a really good job. Because I don't think anybody wants to just phone it home, so to speak. Um, but I think the volume of calls, some of the overload, some of the overwhelm that I've heard a lot of offices having, I think it's starting to weigh on CSRs, and so just be aware of that. Tools will help, but tools are not gonna help that. So yeah, there. Renee says a lot of appointments off the forums on the website. Surprisingly few spam. We have clients that is exactly true of, and then we have other clients that says all they get is spam. So it could be in areas that they live, might be a different way. It could be their clientele. I mean, it just really depends. Some people are form people, other people are phone people. I personally am a phone person. I'm going to pick up the phone and make a call. And if you guys had seen me on a call with Comcast not too long ago, I thought I was going to throw my phone across the wall, because that's my number one complaint is, um, people are now companies are now using automation in the place of just good old fashioned customer service. And when I ask for a real person, and I get into and I bet every one of you have been in one of those audio loops, man, where you ask for something and you're just caught up in that loop that just says, oh no, we need to know this. Is it this, or this? Well, if it's not any of those three, I need to talk to a person, right? And so you can't lean on automation 100%. I mean, you just cannot do it.
Automation works best when its design is to help find the right answer or the right person to talk to. And in some businesses, automation can answer the majority of the questions because those questions are the same questions all day long. And so automation really does have a useful place and people really do appreciate it. But the difference between effective automation and ineffective automation is just whether or not you get what you were hoping for from it. And if it frustrates you more than helps you, then it's ineffective. And to say, well, yes, we have great customer service, we use automation. Automation is not a substitute for good customer service. It can help, but it can also harm you. So you've really got to be paying attention.
And I really like this because you can't, that's the one thing about automation. It's not a real person listening. It's that person making choices to find out answers, but you've got to give them the opportunity to get to a real person to be able to listen. So I think that's really, really important. And I just love this. I agree, Lou. Sometimes your phone's the least used app on your phone. That's it. You're using everything else, but it's just really, really interesting how that works. And I'm really, I get a little frustrated sometimes when I see people looking for the next big technology, the next big thing, the next big whatever it is. The thing about the next big thing is most people want the next big thing to take all the stuff they hate off their plate and take care of it so that you just do the stuff you like. Wouldn't that be great? If I could come up with technology that would just say, just speak into here, tell them what you don't want to do, and this thing will take care of all that, and you can go do whatever you like. I would be a multimillionaire if I could get that done. But that's what I find out when somebody says, just tell me when the next big thing I need to know is. Well, the next big thing, it's not necessarily going to be what you hate. It may be the things that you like that people, that somebody else hates. And so you just need to make sure that you use automation and technology in a way that fits you personally and fits into your business. I think that really is the thing, and to make sure that you never, ever, ever trade um, conversations and relationships for automation and technology. I think that's the other thing to really, yeah, to really kind of make a difference there.
Yeah, you don't want to be spread too thin to where you're doing a poor job answering questions and having conversations and providing customer service. So if you can only if you're doing three things and you add a fourth and things are going okay, and you add a fifth and yeah, it's starting to feel a little stretched, and you add a sixth and the wheels come off the bus, then go back to four. Go back to what you were doing well and stick with that. Renee had a great point too. She said we're trying to drive more and more of our stuff to the website because of the overwhelm and the burnout, right? So, in other words, funneling people into one place is it's not a bad strategy. However, I will say, Renee, that we are seeing consumers and their expectations be, I want to play the game my way. I want to talk to you in the places where I spend the majority of my time. And if you're going to make me leave the places where I spend the majority of my time, like Facebook, to come over to your website, then maybe I'll just find somebody who I can deal with right on Facebook, because that's where I am all day long. So is it a deal breaker? Are you going to lose so much business that you go out of business? Nah, you're not. But I think it is worth. Every business should be looking at the game of business is, how do I provide to my customers something that they're interested in paying me for, and provide it in a way that they'll actually do it, that they'll actually pay me what I'm worth, or pay me a lot of money for what I'm delivering. So it's useful and a good practice to look at all of the different things that you can be doing to figure out how to consolidate.
Yeah, and I really appreciate you guys, because I know that the last couple of years have been somewhat difficult, and the fact that people are staying home and realizing they need this stuff done. And it's not just you. I mean, the guy that was the contractor of our home this year, one of the reasons it was so crazy, he just did his 500th estimate on either a new kitchen or bath. Think about that. I mean, in Middle Tennessee, and he is not the only contractor here. So, everybody is busy, everybody is challenged, everybody is trying to make it work. And I'm all for using tools and technology as much as possible. But I'm telling you, people want conversations. So we just have to be careful that we make sure that we're driving those conversations in a way that we're not driving people away, but we're enticing them and telling them and answering questions that we do the work for them. So, well, that's it for today. I will tell you that if you miss it or you want a refresher, Spark Live can now be found as a podcast. I sound like an announcer, as a podcast on Spotify, iTunes, Google Play, or your favorite player, which we can, and we're glad that we're able to do that. We love that. And like I said, next week, I've got next week as This Is Not Right. That is not what next week is. I know what next week is. It is why businesses should look into chatbots. So I'm not even going to put that up, because whatever I put on here is the same thing we talked about today. And we are not going to talk about it 2 weeks in a row. But we are going to be here talking about chatbots.
Yeah, which is an extension of the same conversation. Yes. But yeah, it's going to be a good conversation.
Yeah, so that is what we're going to be talking about. Hey, guys, have a great time. I know it's the day before Christmas Eve, but we decided we're going to be here. If you're able to get on, that's great. If not, maybe, for a good, nice Christmas Day visit. No, I'm kidding. Please don't watch this Christmas Day. Enjoy your Christmas and your family, and hopefully you're getting together with people this year. That's my wish for all of you. Anyway, thanks so much. We'll see you next week. We love all of you. I hope you're having a great week, and talk to you later. Bye-bye.
Bye.